Um, this video, just want to talk a little bit about practicing. It's one of the things that I find that is never really discussed with in lessons, and it's absolutely critical to learning. One of the most important things, obviously, is putting in the required amount of time. But just playing through something that you already know isn't really practice. So practice really, if you think of it as programming or changing something that you've already learned, instead of just playing something through, then you get a good idea of what you're doing. So practice would be putting information in that you haven't got already. So in the case of a scale, it'd be like learning where you're going to put your fingers, you know, what notes you're playing, fluency, maybe even the letter names of the notes. I like to think of memory as being like doing a recording. So everything that you do is recorded in your head. So for instance, one of the things that comes up quite a lot when I do work towards exams is that people may learn a scale but they don't know its name. Well, obviously that's no good because you can't apply it anywhere unless you play by ear, in which case you probably don't even know what the scale is anyway. You're just playing the notes. But for people normally, we need to know the name. So one of the things to do is when you're actually playing a scale, before you start, actually say what the name of the scale is. So if it's a pentatonic scale, say it's a pentatonic scale, you know, A pentatonic minor, and then you need to play slowly enough and correctly so that your brain gets the idea of what the pattern is. And don't put too much information in one go either. That's another important point, because that part of our mind, the sort of intellectual part, doesn't really process a lot of information in one go. The unconscious part of the mind, in other words, the sort of the archives, the memories and things, that is just incredible, and it can remember lots of stuff, and that tends to work like a triggering mechanism, like a reflex action. So what we're trying to do is to upload a file. So we need to think of it that way. So if we then think about, say this, you know, I mentioned a pentatonic scale, just get the basics of the pattern, which fingers you're going to use, do half the scale, and then get the next half of the scale or next bit of information. So in actual fact, the pentatonic scale in this shape works probably better by thinking of those two notes and then this pattern, because it's the same set of fingers. Then it sort of goes back to what you did before, and then it finishes on the last note. So your brain sort of puts them together in a little pattern format like that, okay? So that's important. Next thing, speed is not an intellectual thing. You can't try to play fast. Well, you can try to play fast, but it won't really work. What that is, again, that's in the realm of the unconscious. It's, if you can hear it twice as fast, you're going to probably be able to get it. So one of the tricks I use, which, you know, I picked up from NLP, is play the thing through, get all the sensory information, what it feels like in your fingers, what it looks like, what it sounds like, and then after you've done that, and it could be just a part of the scale, you could get that, then run it through in your mind and feel it at twice the speed, and then run it, and then put that, and then sort of put it together and put it, you know. Now the reason that works, I know that sounds sort of bizarre, because normally you think about things being played in incrementals, but the unconscious doesn't do incremental stuff. It doubles things, it half speeds, it can multiply them, you know, you can multiply things by 10 and all that sort of stuff. Again, this is one of the things I cover a lot more on this sort of NLP stuff when I run the courses and things. But that sort of flies in the face of logic. But the unconscious is not logical. It does extraordinary things. You know, this is how you can get kids who are 6 and 7 years of age or whatever being really technically incredible. It's almost like they've got that stuff before the education system has got them. You see what I mean? Anyway, try some of those ideas. I'm going to be uploading a lot more videos of specific sort of scales and about the knowledge of what those notes are in them and stuff like that. So get started with this one, have a bit of fun. I'll be covering a lot of stuff about the psychological aspects of practice as we go along.